What separates a good account manager from an absolute rock star? There's just three things, and that's what we're going to be going over today. So I got this amazing question from one of our newsletter subscribers, which, if you didn't know, I'm actually putting out newsletters weekly on Tuesdays that have content that you can find nowhere else. I'm not publishing it anywhere else other than our newsletter. And we're also doing weekly live Thursday Q&As, which are hours long. So if you're trying to catch those replays, I also recommend you being on our newsletter list, because not only do I often make video responses just like this one to questions that come in from our newsletter subscribers, I also am putting out recaps of all of the questions from Amazon PPC sellers just like you, and the exact links to the answers so you can get in, get out, get your answers fast. So to get on that list, I would go to junglr.com/newsletter. That link is going to be in the description so you can get on this list and make sure that you are keeping up with the industry as fast as things are rolling out. But the question that I got was, can you please tell me what separates a good PPC manager from an average one? What should we learn apart from the basics? I highly appreciate your guidance here. Well, I have an answer that you might think is a little bit unconventional, and it's three things. Now, you might think that I would have said, like there's a super tactic or hack, or you need to be building out ads like this. You need to be thinking about things like this. But there's three things that are a little bit outside of the box that will set you up for absolute rock star success when it comes to managing Amazon advertising, specifically as sort of either a brand manager, or maybe you working at an agency, or even you as a business owner. These things will help you out when trying to make the most out of your Amazon advertising. And again, they're not what you might think. So let's dig into that. So the first thing is that I answered with is data analysis. You need to move beyond checkboxes and playbooks. Those checkboxes and playbooks were built off of data analysis, understanding what is happening. So my answer to this one on the whole data analysis is you need to understand how to figure out the why of why something is happening. So my sales went up. Why? Why did my sales go up? And we actually have plenty of videos on this channel digging into how to do those types of analysis. So if you would like links to those videos, make sure you leave comments down in the description. But you need to know how to read the data, and more importantly, interpret it to find the why. And why is that important? Why do you need to know the why? Because if you can figure out the root causes of issues, then you can figure out how to fix them. So when someone says, hey, my sales went up, right? Which is a good thing. How do we keep that momentum going? You have to know why those things actually happen. If you figure out the why, then you can say, okay, now I know what to do more of. Or consequently, if A cost goes up, if total A cost goes up, I need to figure out why these things are happening, because to fix these things, you need to really go and dig in the weeds and figure out the root causes for them. And good data analytics is how you're going to do that. So you need to understand which numbers do what, how things relate to each other, dissect the individual bits and pieces. That's the first step. But the second step is honestly, in some ways, even more critical, and that is good communication skills. The benefit of this, and the good news for you, is that even if you struggle at communication, this is a skill. And this is something that can be learned. I am an absolute testament proof to this. You may not know this about me, but when I was younger, much younger, teenage years, high school, and up into college, I actually suffered from social anxiety. It was a struggle for me even to initiate conversations with people, let alone even understand how to craft words and say things in good, concise, succinct ways. But as you grow, as hopefully your team grows, so if you're a seller and you have VAs underneath you, or maybe you have a brand manager good communication is going to set you and your team apart. Because the thing is, none of us work in a vacuum. Nor should we. That is the beauty of humanity and teams, is we can lean on each other for insights, for understanding. It's why you're watching this video right now. I'm communicating to you some of the things that you should focus on if you want to level up your game in the Amazon ad space. And honestly, this goes kind of beyond the Amazon ad space into just good general business and life practices as well. But when it comes to advertising, client communication is almost as important as the actual work. See, if you understand something, so as a business owner, if you've done your analysis and you're saying like, oh, I'm understanding this is why, these are the root causes, I've dissected it, I understand it. If you can't properly communicate that to your team, or if you're working with an agency and you're struggling to communicate things in a way that people can understand, so they can also take advantage of the understandings that you've gained from your analysis, everything is going to fall on your shoulders. There's going to be conflicts there just through, kind of lack of understanding or people not being able to interpret what you're saying. So if you only know something is happening, but you can't communicate your findings in a clear and concise way, you are going to be surpassed by somebody else who can. And so communication skills, it is a lifelong journey. So like I said, the benefit is this is a skill, and any skill can be learned and any skill can be taught. And if you can get better at communications, if you can get better, again, clear, concise communications here are key. Oftentimes, I myself am guilty of this, and this is something that I am constantly working on, is I understand all of these things, and I can deeply understand the data analytics, but I need to be able to communicate it in a way that is not confusing to my team or confusing to the brands that we work with. They need the bullet points, and they need to know the action items off of those bullet points. And so your job is to constantly lean into that and make sure that everyone, if you have some piece of information, or if you have some understanding, or you have something that somebody else needs to take action on, you need to find out how to say that in a way that gets your point across so somebody else can benefit from what it is that you understand here. And the third thing, again, this is just a general good life practice, is always be learning. Always, always, always be learning. The minute you think that you know everything is the minute that you know the least you ever know. That is the moment you know nothing. So you always want to be constantly learning, be constantly trying to, again, like with communication or data analysis, even though I'm much farther along in my journey than I ever was when I started this, of course, at the beginning of my life, but even now, 6 years into business, I'm still constantly trying to learn and upgrade myself in these areas. And that's honestly what you should be doing. Again, as a business owner, as a seller, as a brand manager, as maybe an Amazon advertiser yourself, you want to constantly be trying to evaluate things. And the way that I think about this, because always be learning sometimes can feel like this huge insurmountable, like, do I just learn everything or what should I focus on? So my thoughts on this are just stay curious, is what I would say. Stay curious about the possibilities. Stay curious about, is this the best way to do this? Always think why. Always think, is there a better way to do this? What were my preconceived notions that I just sort of accepted as fact that may not necessarily be the case? Now, you don't want to beat yourself against the wall here. Obviously, there are tried and tested things for a reason, but I would just say stay curious, stay hungry, and stay in the game, and you will continuously up level yourself. So if you want to become an absolute rock star, like I said, definitely in the world of Amazon advertising, but also in business in general, I would say learn data analytics, learn the ability and constantly improve your ability to find out the why and the root causes. Good communication skills, learn how to say things in a way that people understand, that is very clear and concise, and then always be learning and stay curious. So I know this was a quick one today, but hope that is helpful. And if you have any questions on data analytics or anything like that, definitely make sure you leave that in the comments.